Imagine a world where economic prosperity is not just for the few, but all. This is the vision of Doughnut Economics, a holistic approach to economics that prioritizes both social and environmental well-being. Today on Big Money, we will delve into the revolutionary ideas of Doughnut Economics and explore how it could solve some of the world's most pressing problems. Doughnut Economics by Kate Raworth introduces the reader to the exciting new possibilities in today's economics. The author shares insightful ideas on the global market and economic opportunities that people, businesses and governments should consider in their search for returns on investments. Moreover, Raworth provides convincing arguments for the approaches that should be considered as we work toward a more sustainable future. Doughnut Economics is a theory that proposes a new economic model to solve the pressing problem of eliminating poverty on Earth without depleting its finite resources. This theory seeks to challenge the rational economic theory's foundation by saying that it does not address the problems of the modern economy. In addition, Raworth stresses the significance of sustainability in economic model development. Furthermore, the author challenges the foundation of equilibrium upon which modern rational economics rests. Humanizing economic models, the author contends, is the key to achieving universal access to opportunity. Specifically, Raworth rejects the capitalist viewpoint of logical economics, which sees wealthy capital owners becoming even wealthier, while the working class faces persistent economic hardship. Doughnut Economics proposes 7 strategic methods by which all people's needs can be met by successfully incorporating humanity into economic structures, thus rebuilding mainstream economics. Doughnut Economics represents a novel approach to economic theory. By rethinking our methods, we can shift the focus of national and global economies away from GDP growth and toward creating a sustainable society that can meet the needs of all its citizens without compromising their security or prosperity in the long run. The metrics on this dashboard serve as the framework for this model. Imagine looking at the top of a donut. That round green donut representing a thriving ecological zone would be visible. The inner part portrays the societal base, while the outer part represents the ecological ceiling. The lack of access to necessities, including food, water, healthcare, and the ability to express oneself, is represented by the gaping hole in the donut's center. The model predicts that we will fail to provide our inhabitants with essential social cornerstones if we fall short of our targets, or make inefficient use of the Earth's resources. In real life, people do not have enough food, clean water, or healthcare. So, rescuing everyone from that hole is a significant obstacle for humanity. However, if we overspend our resource budget, we will have to deal with dire consequences, including depleted reservoirs, dehydrate oceans, chemical pollution, and warming Earth. Cost of healthcare increases due to pollution are examples of externalities that are not considered in the price of goods and services in our existing systems, but are in an integrated economy that enables us to view the economy as part of a larger social and ecological fabric. Doughnut Economics is predicated on a model of the economy that is both restorative and redistributive. It has far-reaching consequences for any community attempting to strike an equilibrium between rapid economic development and radical social transformation. With strong regulations and control, countries can begin implementing a zero-tolerance policy that stops actions that harm the environment and jeopardize social stability. Tax policy and public expenditures can help reduce inequality by creating incentives to move away from wealth and resource exploitation and toward job creation and asset redistribution. Public and private organizations could work together more effectively to create the resource ecosystems at the industrial scale necessary to launch a circular and regenerative economy. A 2018 analysis found that the Doughnut Economics concept had been implemented in more than 150 countries. The goals that Kate Raworth lays out in her critique of conventional economics are met with this book. 7 ideas and techniques are presented for reshaping the dominant paradigm to include the human dimension and bring about global prosperity for all people. As the first strategy discussed in the book, Raworth suggests switching the target from GDP to the Doughnut model. Raworth challenges contemporary economists to take a macroeconomic perspective as the second strategy discussed in the book. Raworth argues that economists should move away from a closed market and instead support an embedded economy. In addition, Raworth emphasizes the necessity to nurture human nature in the third strategy, which involves moving away from the idea of the rational economic man and instead considering the feature of socially adaptable humans. Raworth's fourth proposal is focused on teaching today's economics the value of dynamic complexity in understanding how systems work. The fifth and sixth strategies are the author's distribution and regeneration creation model designs. Economics, society, and the rest of the living world are all seen as complex, interrelated systems that are adequately understood through the perspective of systems theory. So, it calls for transforming today's degenerative economies into regenerative ones, and today's divisive economies into much more distributing ones. The book, Doughnut Economics, provides a final reaction to the author's objectives by encouraging modern economists to take a neutral stance on economic growth. The concept of Doughnut Economics is novel and still in its early stages. Therefore, there are no case studies to examine, though several cities are investigating how to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic and strengthen their resilience. As part of their COVID-19 recovery strategy, the Dutch capital has already declared its intention to implement Doughnut Economics. Its initiatives include a drive to supply computerless citizens with modern desktops using donated and repaired laptops so they can access all types of services during lockdowns and disasters, the creation of 6 new islands reclaimed from the ocean using foundations that preserve the local species, and the establishing of new norms for circular use of resources in significant works involving city-owned structures, including a pretty novel materials passport to permit their reuse. Further, to limit wasteful consumption, Amsterdam hopes to encourage second-hand shows and achieve a 50% reduction in food waste by 2030. Accordingly, Brussels launched the Go for Brussels 2030 strategy in February 2021. It implemented it using the Doughnut socio-economic model to attain carbon neutrality of economic operations by 2050 to provide for the needs of all its residents within planetary limitations. For instance, the pandemic and subsequent crises, environmental catastrophe, conflict in Ukraine, etc., have highlighted the limitations and precariousness of a globally integrated economy that pays little attention to ecological concerns. Local production and reducing reliance on imports are essential to achieving a sustainable transition to a circular economy. Relocating industrial chains throughout Europe, keeping an eye on energy and raw materials costs, and dealing with supply shortages are all urgent needs. In order to realise Go for Brussels' vision of a carbon-free, regenerative, circular, social, democratic and digital economy by 2030, it is necessary to shift focus from the international and global to the local level. To this end, the Brussels administration has established a comprehensive action plan to match its economic goals with its climate goals, based on a shifting economy, a regional strategy suggested by Secretary of State for Economic Transition, Barbara Tracht. The project is a Brussels adaptation of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. This gradual transition attempts to provide economic assistance to commercial development that is regionally re-anchored and has a societal purpose of achieving the shift. In addition, it hopes to enhance work opportunities, decrease unemployment, and cultivate the capabilities of Brussels residents. Brussels government officials have acknowledged business owners' initiative, community spirit, and resiliency during the pandemic. As a result, the social economy in Brussels is thriving and growing. Emerging developments in Brussels may serve as models for other European and global metropolitan areas. Instead of focusing on GDP growth, a doughnut economy aims to maximize the spread of its doughnut shape. The economical frame of mind is not based on rules and regulations, but on a 21st century worldview that can help guide humanity into a secure and ecologically sound future. Doughnut Economics is a holistic method that highlights human nature's collaborative and sympathetic sides, alongside the more conventional individualistic and aggressive ones. The doughnut economy has the potential to reverse the market trend by turning degenerative economies generative and divisive economies distributive. The economy must stop focusing on growth, as it is said, Growth is a healthy stage of life, but nothing expands forever. Things that succeed do so by growing until it is time to grow up and thrive instead. The long-term objective of this framework is to foster economic, social, and ecological prosperity by facilitating the adoption of sustainable lifestyles and ethically rational decisions. A single person or group cannot bring about this new economic vision. Instead, it necessitates planning, preparation, cooperation, and input from all parties concerned. The donut is a metaphor for imagining an economic structure that would foster a flourishing modern society while protecting the planet for future generations. Branko Milanovic, an economist, is one of the most prominent critics of the theory. He says that Raworth's framework needs to consider that we will only be able to end global poverty with more GDP growth. In the same way, sustainable innovations today are small and make little progress compared to what should happen. Furthermore, Milanovic thinks the book portrays globalized capitalism as approaching a more cooperative and gentler phase, when in fact, individuals are growing more commercially motivated, leading to a self-centered, money and success-oriented society, all while presenting a world that is devoid of key social problems, and saying there is no "we" that comprises 7.3 billion people. There is competition between various national and social groups. Like most others, the Doughnut Theory's proposed global development model lays out identifiable issues and potential solutions. Nevertheless, this does not guarantee that the model is either accurate or applicable globally. It will be up to politicians and economics to determine whether or not it can be applied successfully, and to what extent, in the absence of a series of universal solutions that do not exist and are unlikely to emerge. To conclude, discussion from an analytical standpoint has been aided by the thorough evaluation of Doughnut Economics by Kate Raworth. Raworth's text aims to challenge the paradigm of rational economic theory, which she says fails to address economic crisis problems. In presenting these 7 tactics, the book successfully responds to Kate Raworth's goals in challenging mainstream economics. Classical economics is challenged by a new theory, known as Doughnut Economics, the very same leading us into a disaster. Its widespread impact and positive reaction indicate that the public is mentally prepared for a radical shift in the system. Amsterdam and Brussels are the only 2 cities that have shown serious interest in implementing the Doughnut. Raworth's novel methodology can help us reach a better society where everyone is treated fairly and the environment is protected. The book maintains a consistently optimistic tone and provides a few options for influencing social change that will lead to more stable and secure communities. This theory injects some mystery and wonders into an otherwise very insular and dogmatic field, with remedies that are little more than dreams and utopia. We hope you enjoyed this video. By subscribing to Big Money, you'll access exclusive content to groundbreaking approaches to economics. So don't wait any longer. Join the movement and increase your understanding of economics, business, and wealth. Subscribe now.